the recording. There we go. And if it's okay, I know that there are gonna be a couple of people who are going to be joining in a moment's time anyway, but if it's okay, I'll just start now because I know that many of you will have other things to do at 12 and we wanna have a hard stop at 12 o'clock. So thank you everybody for joining the session here today, and thank you for your interest in this Frontiers research topic. I'm going to give just a very brief, if I can figure out how to use this, a very brief overview of our aims and strategy with this research topic and how you can contribute and how we can start a bit of a community, a transdisciplinary research community on a research topic that is of interest to all of us here. I'll then hand over the floor to my colleague and co-editor, Elaine Dewhurst, who's going to be talking about a research project that she's carrying out with colleagues at MICRA, University of Manchester, and Manchester Metropolitan University. We'll then devote most of the session to questions and answers and discussions, both about the Uncertain Futures Project and about the research topic. So I'm going to hand over straight over to Elaine after I speak, just to be as time efficient as possible. So this is a Frontiers research topic, which is being published by 3 participating journals, Frontiers in Psychology, Frontiers in Sociology, and in Human Dynamics. You can choose which of the journals to publish in, but they're all supporting this research topic. And we have 4 editors. Here are pictures on screen. 2 of us come from the discipline of aging and gerontology, Elaine and me. Elaine specializes in law, and I specialize in HRM and business. And then 2 colleagues from the field of migration studies, Pesha and Daniel at the University of Osnabrück. We've been working together on a couple of research proposals, and we thought that this might be a good idea to bring all of our friends from the aging community and all of their friends from the migration community together on a research topic. So what are we looking for in the research topic, and what are our overall aims and strategies? I thought probably the best way to describe this is with a load of buzzwords. And at this stage, I'd like to thank the editors of Frontiers for being flexible in the approach to how we're using this platform in order to bring a community of researchers, academics, community activists, and so forth together. Now, many of us have some experience in editing special issues, and we all know the process. We write an abstract of the special issue. We put it on the journal's website. We put a deadline for maybe about 6 or 9 months down the line, and then we cross our fingers and we hope that we get a lot of good articles coming in. I don't know if Matt Fossey is in the audience here, but he and I are working with some colleagues on a special issue in the International Journal of HRM, and that's more or less the process that we go through, hoping that there'll be some good articles. And in our case, there have been some really good and interesting articles to come out. The approach that we're taking with this research topic is a little bit different. We want to have it as more of a rolling conversation. So we talk to I don't know if Rachel Robinson, who is our managing editor for this research topic, is online. She said that she'll be coming in to answer any questions that you might have. But we talked to her about this and we said, well, really what we want to do is to have something which is for a finite period, about a year, in which we can bring in articles, discussion pieces, commentaries, and so forth as a rolling process. So it's not a case of send us your articles, we'll evaluate them, and at the end of the day, we might publish 5 or 6 articles. We'll publish them on an ongoing basis. We'd like this to be complemented with other platforms for discussions, like the webinar that we're having here. We'd like this to be intersectional, of course. That's the basis of the research topic, to cover how the experiences of aging in migrant communities play out. We'd also like it to be not just multidisciplinary, but transdisciplinary. And this can come about either through articles which are transdisciplinary in nature, or through discussions and dialogues from people from different backgrounds and different disciplines. We're open for it to be a little bit multi-generational as well. So if there are PhD students in the audience, or if you've got PhD students who are interested in the topic, bring them in. Hopefully those of us who are have a little bit more experience in the academic world can support them in their research. We want it to be cross-community. This isn't just a dialogue within the academic community, but between the academic community and those who represent people in the migrant community, those who organize, those who give voice to older immigrants on public policy and other matters. And then finally, we want this to be something that can be scaled up, that's something to be built upon. As many of us know, when it comes to funded research, what funding bodies are looking for aren't necessarily a single researcher or a single team putting together a proposal, but one in which different community members, people from different backgrounds, different methodological expertise and so forth, come together to look at a particular issue from multiple dimensions. And this could be a platform in which we can facilitate that. Here are the research topics and objectives. We're looking for perspectives on older immigrants' lived experiences, the barriers which they face in the aging process, the implication of the intersection of age and migration status when it comes to voice in public and social policies, and examples of good practice when it comes to active aging within migrant communities. Why is the topic important? Well, if there are any of my PhD students online, one of the things that they'll tell you is that I'm constantly yelling at them whenever they put something into their thesis which says nobody's ever looked at this particular topic before. And I'll try to avoid saying that because there has been research on the intersection of age and migration status. But what I can do is to quote the preeminent scholar in this area, Sandra Torres, in saying that more research needs to be created and more of a dialogue needs to be had on how the aging process is experienced by older migrants. It's a wide field. There are a variety of immigrants, different experiences, and different ways in which they experience the aging process. So it's a very wide field, and we can make a very good contribution through this research topic. What are some of the topics that can be covered? Well, this is just a very short list of things that we thought about. Certainly the issue of work. Age discrimination is something that that people experience in a variety of ways, and Pesha and Daniel would be able to tell you a lot about experiences of migrants in the world of work. We want to look at issues of retirement, pension, housing, community involvement, political involvement, social policy, any sort of representation. It's not an exhaustive list, and we're looking for a wide range of topics. And another way to think about that is to just look at a little word cloud that I produced with our abstract. So if you're looking at this word cloud and you can see the word that sort of hits on a topic that you're interested in, then probably this would be something that we would be interested in as well. One thing I'll say about that as well is that many of you will know, for whom we got in touch through the Frontiers platform, is that they have this facility, an abstract facility, where you can write out a short abstract to see if we're interested in it. Do use that facility, and we can use this as a source of feedback and discussion about how your research could fit in with the overall topic. What kind of papers are we looking for? We're looking for systematic literature reviews, community case studies, secondary analyses of data sets which are in the public domain, research reports, policy reviews, general commentaries, opinion pieces, and so forth. And another important dimension of this is, who are we looking to hear from? And of course, we're looking to hear from our friends in academic communities. So those of you who are carrying out research, ongoing research, funded or otherwise, this would be a great platform for PhD students to disseminate their findings and so forth. But it's not just the academic community that we want to hear from. We want to hear from those who are representing, organizing, members of migrant communities, community activist groups, policymakers, and so forth. And again, just to draw on an example of something that I'm working with in terms of older veterans, there's a great platform there which brings together those who are in government and those who are in academic community to have a discussion about things. And we cast a lot of light from both perspectives there. And this is something that we're looking for here as well. Work, Employment, and Society, as I understand, used to have this series in which academics could work directly with people who are affected by a particular issue to write out articles as well. And this might be a model that could be used as well. So we're looking for very creative approaches to dissemination. Now, one of the things that you might be thinking about and maybe have a little bit of concern is when it comes to fees. And many of you have experience with the Frontiers platforming. You know how it works. So there's an upfront fee to publish, but in return for this, you get something for your money, which is the open access in an online journal that has a very good impact factor. So this is something that, if you're from an academic background, you'll probably talk to your library about this and get funding for it. If you're coming from outside of the academic community, then talk to us about this, because there are some support sources to fund any fees for open access. So if you're interested in publishing something with us through this series, but you don't have access to the funding for the paper, talk to us. We'll see if we can work something out. In terms of the fees, they're different for each of the different journals, and because we've got 3 journals who are publishing with us, I didn't want to put the fees up on screen, but you can find them online, and you can choose which of the journals that you want to publish with. So the next steps for this, of course, are, as I mentioned, because this is a platform which offers open access. If you're thinking about publishing with us, start a conversation now. Send an abstract through. You might be getting some automated letters from Frontiers reminding you of abstracts and papers and so forth. Ignore that, other than if you're interested, if you want to start a conversation with us on an abstract that you're interested in, send it through and we can start that conversation. We'll be publishing throughout the year on an ongoing basis, so it won't be just one shot of 6 or 7 articles that are published, but they'll be published as they go through the editing process. We're hoping that this webinar series can be part of that process as well. So if you publish a paper, you want to disseminate it to a wider audience, you want to discuss it with within this community, maybe you can use the webinar as a platform. We'll also be setting up a website and putting all of the videos on the website as well. The end date is May 2022. And again, if you have any ideas, questions, thoughts on contributions, then please feel free to get in touch with any of the editors. And with that, I'm going to hand over the floor for something that I've been interested in a while, for hearing about. It's an exciting project being carried out in Manchester called Uncertain Futures. And I'm going to then hand over if I can figure out how to do this, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to Elaine, who's going to talk a little bit about her project.
Thank you so much, Matt. I feel like I've got a big shoes to fill now, because that was that was really good, and you've made this project sound really wonderful as well. Okay, let me just see if I can get this so everyone can see that. Okay. Brilliant, excellent. Okay, so this is our project that's happening in Manchester called Uncertain Futures. And basically it's an art and research project. So it's a collaborative research project which brings together artists and researchers to look at the issue of inequalities facing women over 50 in work in Manchester. And I'm delighted to see Louise Wong, who's here today from the YN Society, because she's been a really key part of this particular project, working with the advisory group. And the advisory group is a group of women over 50 from all sorts of women's organizations and groups in Manchester, representing different diverse groups of women in Manchester, and they have been the linchpin of this entire project. And I'll talk a little bit about them later. But what did we want to find out with this particular project? So what do we know already about women over 50 in work? Well, we know that they face very significant challenges. They face inequalities in relation to gender, in relation to age, but also other facets of their lives relating to race, disability, health conditions, socioeconomic status, migration status, language. So all of these things are intersecting to create inequalities for women. We know a lot about this. We know lots about the gender pay gap. We know lots about pension provisions. We know lots about aging and the problems with women accessing work over certain ages. But one of the issues that we don't really know about is how all of these different facets of a woman's life, their race, their disabilities, their migration status, their language, how these all interact to create barriers or obstacles to really achieving full equality in work. And we took a very broad definition of work as well. So work is not just paid work. It can be voluntary work, caring responsibility. So it's a very, very broad concept of work that we're looking at. And the whole point of the project, really, the aim of the project was to change policy and to change law to overcome these barriers and these challenges for women. So that's essentially an overview of the project. And there's an art side to the project and there's a research side to the project. And the art side to the project essentially involves a performance installation at Manchester Art Gallery, which I'll take you through in a little bit more detail in a while, where 100 women from all different walks of life in Manchester will come to the gallery. They'll be interviewed about their experiences in work, and then those transcripts of those interviews will be taken by the research team. They'll be analysed, and we will work with the advisory group to develop policy changes through that. So that's a sort of a short roundup of the project. But the project is a little bit more complicated than that, because we have a very sort of, it's a collaborative artwork and it's a participatory research project. So it involves a number of partners working together consistently to bring the whole project together. So we have the artist who conceived all of this. We have Manchester Art Gallery, who's not just a passive participant, who's a very active participant within the artwork itself. We have this linchpin advisory group who are involved in every aspect of the project and help us in terms of designing the art itself, all the way through to finding out what these experiences are and sort of analysing this information. And we have a research team made up of researchers from University of Manchester and Micro, which is mainly myself and some research assistants, but also from Manchester Metropolitan University, Dr. Sarah Campbell. She's been really an integral part of the research project as well. Our artist is Suzanne Lacey. So she's an American artist, a very talented, well-known artist, mainly renowned for her socially engaged and public performance art installations. So when I was first engaged on this project, I got very confused because I said, oh, where's the art? But actually the art is the performance. So the performance of actually the women coming in and being interviewed, this is the art effectively. And Suzanne is really known for tackling very difficult issues. So she's done performance installations relating to issues like domestic violence, poverty, and now tackling this issue of inequalities with women over 50 as well. So she's a very, very talented artist, but her main purpose is not just the art, it's also pioneering this social change as well as part of that. So she's a very engaged, socially engaged artist. Manchester Art Gallery then is where the installation is going to be held, and it's currently, it was launched last week, so it's available for people to go in and see, and it will be there from June till November. The main performance part will be taking place from June until September. So if you do want to see the performance of the installation, that's the best time to go is sometime between June and September, because you can actually watch the interviews taking place during that time. Manchester Art Gallery, as I've said, is not a passive participant in this. They're very much engaged with very much want to bring people to the gallery, encouraging women's organisations to get involved, to be part of the process, and establishing a programme of community action to accompany the installation. So they're currently working on a Chai and Chat series of events where women can come and talk about these experiences and the issues that we find from the research that we will undertake. As I've already said, one of the main parts of this project really is the advisory group. They have been the linchpin of the whole project. They've been involved from the very beginning. They're made up of women from various different women's groups across Manchester. They are intelligent, fiery, enthusiastic women who are really, really community engaged, active, and they just have so much to bring to the project. So they've been involved in everything from the design of the installation itself as to where the chairs should go and what it should look like, all the way through to developing the research matrix with us as part of the research team. So they have helped us pull out some of the integral issues to kind of design what questions we want to ask in the interviews. They've been involved in even down to the ethics applications. They've been involved in everything. So they're a really integral part of the project. We had coined this phrase at the very start of our project about the COVID plus effect, because obviously COVID is something that we had to take into consideration. Initially, it delayed the start of the project because the project was supposed to start in 2019, and obviously it couldn't because of COVID. And we talked a lot about how COVID had impacted on women and had enhanced or made these inequalities worse for women in many, many cases. but also it had a COVID plus effect in terms of our advisory group, because it meant that we had to really work hard to keep the advisory group going and to keep the project going over this period. The advisory group met every single week, pretty much. I mean, the odd week they didn't meet, but that was quite rare, over the course of the last year and a half, to discuss every aspect of the project, to talk about their own experiences, and to help us develop the research matrix and our research questions. So COVID has actually had quite a positive effect on the project from that perspective. And then finally, the research team. So the research team, I would say, is made up mainly of the advisory group, because they obviously are an integral part of the research and analysing that research with us. But also with Manchester Metropolitan University, Dr. Sarah Campbell, she's a sociologist, and myself from the University of Manchester, I'm mainly a lawyer. Sarah is mainly conducting the interviews, so she's going to actually be in the art piece conducting the interviews with these 100 women from across Manchester. We will then take those interview transcripts, anonymize them, and place them on the wall of the gallery so that people can read them and you can engage with them and interact with them. And we will use these in our Chai and Chat events as well to discuss people's different experiences. And then working with the advisory group and these transcripts, we will develop policy responses to the issues and the thematic issues that arise from that. So let me just take you through the installation if I have time. So this is brilliant, thanks Matt. This is a walk through our installation. So the installation actually starts outside the gallery, because on the walls of the gallery outside in the main windows, in between the pillars of the gallery, we have these really eye-catching posters which are written in various different languages to encourage all sorts of people from Manchester to come to the gallery and engage with this project. And they are asking effectively questions about women's experience. So, you know, do you feel that paid and unpaid work or care work is equally valued? Do you feel that the increase in the pension age has impacted on your retirement planning? Has race or your migration status affected your future plans? So all of these questions are on the front of the gallery, and the idea is to entice people into the gallery to engage with these questions and with the research as well. This is Gallery 8, which is where the installation takes place. Labour-related art project that happened, installation that happened quite recently as well. So in this sort of initial space you walk into, you see a number of chairs, which is encouraging people to sit and talk about these particular issues, obviously socially distant for COVID purposes. We have some nice artworks on the wall which represent women working in Manchester, so they're really some really beautiful paintings. But the real heart of this project is the small sound booth to the side of the gallery, which you can see here on the left of the picture, which effectively is where the interviews will take place. And as you can see, there's a window where you can watch when the interviews are in progress. You can watch the interviews happening. These are soundproofed, so you can't hear the interview, and it's obviously COVID safe, because that was clearly a really important part of the project. Inside the booth, this is what it looks inside. So when you come in to be interviewed, this is what you will be met by. Originally, we had it looking a little bit more cozy, but because of COVID, we've had to be a little bit more socially distanced. So we have some chairs and a table where the person coming to be interviewed can come in, sit down within this nice relaxed space and discuss their particular issues. On the wall, you'll see on the yellow wall, you'll see that there's a projection of quotations, and these are being gathered from some of the discussions we've had with the advisory group or some of the interviews, and these will be projected onto the wall during the interviews so that people outside walking by can see some of these quotations from the women. On the back wall as well, you'll see a kind of a strange matrix. I'll talk a little bit about that again in a minute, but this is effectively our research matrix that we devised with the advisory group around all the issues, these intersectional issues, inequalities that affect women in Manchester. And this is what it would look like from the outside. If you were walking through the gallery, you can see the interview taking place. When there's no interviews taking place, you can actually go into the booth, and on the wall will be the transcripts of the 100 interviews. And after each interview takes place, it's transcribed, anonymized, and a pseudonym is used, and then it's placed on the wall. So over the summer, these transcriptions will build so that eventually there will be 100 of them on the wall, and you can go in and read them. So this performance piece. Sorry, I think I froze a little bit there. How does the research interact with this performance piece? Well, as you can see, this is our research matrix, which at the back here, which we devised with the advisory group, and which is now on the wall of the gallery. It's been painted onto the wall as part of this installation. And as you can see, you'll be able to see all of the different aspects that when we were discussing with the advisory group about, what these intersectional inequalities were, the main ones that came up were things like gender and age, but also things like race, migration, socioeconomic status, disabilities, language, all of these other things intersected. We're also been looking at a number of, it's not just about these inequalities, but it's where these inequalities strike. So we looked at things like access to employment, so all of the different how all of these inequalities impact on a woman's ability to access employment, how it affects her ability to take part in employment in a fair manner, so all the terms and conditions of people's employment, and how it impacts termination of employment as well. So whether they felt forced out of the workplace, whether they've been faced with redundancy, whether they've made plans for the future in terms of retirement planning, pension planning, whether they have provisions for their future lives. And in addition to that, as part of this matrix, which we've also devised, we brought in a whole separate section around COVID and how these inequalities have been emphasized more by COVID, and how it has affected or impacted on that. So our other main research outputs, which we haven't really developed yet, our matrix luckily is in a quite good shape at the moment. So we've already been able to submit that to the UN independent expert on the human rights of older persons. They are currently looking at developing an international convention on the rights of older persons. So we've been able to submit our matrix to them, showing how these inequalities interact and where they arise. We're also developing a thematic website, which will be based on the interviews and the themes which arise from those interviews. We're going to be producing interactive policy briefs with the advisory group, which can be used then to change policy and law. We're going to take part in this program of events at Manchester Art Gallery, and then hopefully at some point have some academic research outputs and funding from that. So thank you all very much for listening to me today. I want to give credit to Andrew Brooks Photography and Audrey Albert for the photographs, because they did all of that really hard work. And if you do have any questions about the project, please feel free to contact me or Sarah at MMU, or Ruth Edson at Manchester Art Gallery. Thank you very much.
Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing both in terms of the emerging findings of the research, and also the methodology, the very creative approach of not just generating data, but also involving the wider public in that generation process. So really looking forward to seeing how the progress of this research. I'm going to open this up to questions and discussions, either about the Uncertain Future project or on the research topic. Now, I know with Teams, you usually have this function where you can raise your hand, but I don't think we have that with Zoom. So you'll have to actually physically raise your hand if you have a question, and I'll change the view so that I can see everybody here. Does anybody have a question or observation that you'd like to have to offer? Yes, Marianne.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this presentation, Ellen. It's really, as everyone say, incredible. I'm just wondering how much time and energy and money you have to do that. And it makes me think of the human library methods. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, which we have planned to do here. So I live in Switzerland. I work with Chris Philipson So I think you know it. And so he could not be here today, so I'm just here on my own. But so just saying that we have also tried with some colleagues here to find money to put together a human library. So this means people come to a certain place like a library, a cafe or so, and they're going to talk about one history of their life. So they are like human books, if you want, and the readers are those who are going to listen to it. And they use that, for instance, for special events against racism, so because apparently it has a good effect on reducing racism. So we want to try to do it with ageism. So, and the output of it is the human library, but also we want to put together the different testimonies to create a theater play. And we are also working with an art school here, but we have unfortunately failed finding the money. So thank you very much for what you have presented, because it's also super well structured, I find, and very efficient, I think. So I have one question about what you have said. I was not sure, I didn't understand very well about the quotations on the yellow wall. So is that a quotation that of other people while these people are interviewed, or is that the quotation of those who are interviewed? I've not understood well.
That's a really good question. Your project sounds amazing, though. That human library sounds fantastic, and I think maybe it would be worth getting in contact, because we could maybe link to each other on our websites and stuff, because I think it really acts really well, would work well together. In terms of funding, yeah, totally get that. Totally get the pain on that. It's been really hard to get funding, and what we've ended up doing is getting tiny pots from different places to get it to this point. But a lot of it has been unfunded so far. So the work, at the moment is mostly unfunded. So it's, MICRA has been really generous and given us a lot of money towards it. But yeah, it's difficult to find funding for these types, because I think it's quite unknown, an unknown methodology as well. So it's kind of hard to find that. The quotations on the wall are quotations from a sound piece that we did with the advisory group. So the advisory group have all been interviewed as well first. We haven't used their interviews as part of the 100 women, but we took quotations from them, and those are being projected onto the wall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just noticed that Rachel's joined us as well. Rachel is the managing editor for Frontiers. So if you have any questions about the research topic that you need to, hi Rachel. We've met through email exchanges quite a lot, but this is the first time this is the closest to in person that we've met. If you have any questions or any ideas about what you might be interested in terms of publishing on the research topic, I can see how the human library might produce some really interesting stuff. So if something comes out over the next year on that, be quite interested. Sorry, Marion, you were going to say something?
Sorry. Actually, the human library, I was not thinking about that for the publication. I was just thinking about that because of the presentation. I cannot really say, because we have not discussed this very much with Chris right now, but what we have worked on recently are really, so in the 4 last years, is about retirement migration. So I don't know if you include retirement migration in the topic migration, in the sense that it's not like older migrants in richer countries, but rather we look at people from richer countries who relocate at the age of retirement, or at the age early retirement, like pre-retirees who struggle on the labor market, and for economic reasons they go away. So this is the topic, and I do not have more specificities for now, but.
Okay, yes, and we're looking at this from a very expansive point of view in terms of publication, recognizing that there are a lot of different experiences within the migrant community. Stephen McNair, who's my old boss, always says when it comes to aging that as people age, they don't become more similar, they become actually differences actually accelerate over time, and that's probably the experience of those who research in the migrant community as well. So we want to be very expansive in
Okay.
terms of things that we're going to be publishing. So.
Fine. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
One thing that I'd like to sort of open up the overall platform for is how you'd like to use the research topic. This isn't, we don't want to be too prescriptive about this. We have some structure in terms of the research topic. And Rachel, I was just telling the folks here a moment ago that Frontiers has been very supportive in terms of a very flexible approach of how we use the research topic and how we want to use this as an ongoing platform, complemented by things like this webinar discussion, possibly stuff that we can produce that we can produce for a wider audience. To reach out within communities and so forth, but also to be very creative in terms of how we use the output. Are there any are there things that people would like to see in terms of how we use the research topic to sort of expand the dialogue and to produce some really good discussion about the lived experiences of older migrants? This is something that, of course, we'll have an ongoing discussion with over the next year. Can I ask as well? Sorry, Stephen. Oh, and you found you found the hand on the Zoom thing that you can use.
It's at the bottom of the screen in the reactions and under reactions.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
Yes. First of all, thank you for the credit just now. Secondly, I wanted to draw attention to a project that people might be interested in. As you know, Matt, I've been working for quite a long time now on the European Joint Programming Initiative on Demographic Change. And that has just funded a set of projects on equality, and the theme is about equality. But one of the projects which is being funded, based at the University of Reading with partners in France, Spain, and Sweden, is the CareWell project, which is looking at caring roles in transnational families. They're doing a detailed study of 100 families who have at least 3 generations split across host countries, countries of origin, looking at how caring roles have developed, emerged, what factors affect the decisions people make about whether to stay, whether to go home, whether to try to move, all those kind of issues. Now, that project is just starting around now. But I would guess they're probably certainly interested in being involved in this enterprise. And I put the details in the chat for anybody who wants to follow up. The project is being led by Ruth Evans from Reading University.
Okay, that sounds great, and thank you as well for sending out the invite to your colleagues on the joint programming board, because this is sort of we're hoping for a snowballing effect in terms of the topic, and people will send out to will reach out to those within your networks on the topic, and we can bring in both the friends that we have now and to make new friends in this topic. But certainly that's quite an interesting topic, both in terms of how caring responsibilities affect the world of work, how people access sustainable jobs, retirement planning, and so forth, but also migration at a later stage in life, and having to reconcile work-life balance across geographical boundaries. And I'll certainly reach out to Ruth as well on that. Okay.
Matt, are we looking for people to maybe do another webinar in a couple of months?
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes. Is this a platform that folks would like to continue? We can do it on a periodic basis. We can do it as and when. So, when somebody publishes something, but I think, one of the outcomes of the of Elaine's presentation on uncertain futures is that it's really interesting to see research which is ongoing as well. So if this, if you've got a research idea, if you're working on a project, you're working on a field of study and you'd like to present on this forum, then please do get in touch with us. But would anybody be interested? Well, I guess there are two questions. One is in terms of the structure of the webinar. Do we want this to be something which is periodic, like say once a month at a particular time? So first Thursday of every month, or do we want to have it as and when? And then two, would anybody in the group here like to present something for the next session? Don't want to put you on the spot, but if somebody's really keen to present something on their research, then it's on a first come first served basis, or just drop one of us an email, and we'll be happy to slot you in. So. What do people think? Do we want to have this as a periodic thing, the first Thursday of every month, or if there's a better time, once a month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads. So let's plan for the next one. First Thursday of the month. But to do so, of course, we need somebody to present. And actually, what we could do is we can maybe even have 2 presentations per session as well. At Hull, University of Hull, where I am, we have this research seminar series in which we always have like we have one staff presenting followed by one PhD student. It makes it a little bit less ominous for the PhD student to present. So maybe if we can organize it so people like more senior academics could present alongside somebody who maybe has a little bit less experience in presenting in a forum like this. So I won't put you on the spot right now for this, but if you are interested in presenting, then please drop me an email and we'll see if we can organize. And if I don't get if we're not able to organize something in like say 2 weeks or something, I'll send around a lot of angry emails, and hopefully we'll get somebody to present the next one. Bit of a hard act to follow, but this is something that hopefully will be a nice collegial and friendly platform to discuss the research. The last thing I'll say is that we're also going to put together a website where we can put these webinars online, so people who have who weren't able to attend today will be able to see both the discussions and the presentations. Yeah. So if there's are there any other thoughts, questions, observations that anybody has? And if not, I'll close it. Call it to a close today. Thank you so much, Elaine, for your presentation. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And thank you to Rachel and your colleagues in Frontiers for giving us a platform to have these really interesting and thoughtful discussions.
Thank you for the moderation.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.